Hello, welcome to PCT Chat. We talk about, excuse me, the Pacific Crest Trail, which, as you probably know, is the 2,850 odd miles trail from Mexico to Canada, or if you're going southbound, from Canada to Mexico. It starts in Campo, a city on the border in San Diego County. It's about, uh-oh.
My situation was almost the opposite. I was doing everything to live longer, despite being completely miserable with motion. I was as physically healthy as I'd ever been circa 2017.
Sorry. I only have about 8 million things open.
But to what end? I was horrible at both emotionally and in terms of my interpersonal relationships. The words of my therapist, Esther Perel, rang in my head practically every day. Why would you want to live longer if you're so
That's weird. Sorry. Okay. So, the PCT, publicized in the book Wild, written by Cheryl Strayed, an amazing writer, by the way. Read some of her other stuff, and I think the book is very well written. Made into a movie starring Reese Witherspoon, popularized the PCT and hiking it. Although not for me, I saw the movie, did not make me want to hike the PCT. It looked horrible. Of course, Reese Cheryl was grossly underprepared. I think there's such a thing as being overprepared. Well, maybe there's not. I think there are people that overthink hiking the PCT. I'm amazed by their charts and their schedules and this and that. And I think part of the fun of hiking the PCT is not planning every last thing, right? Things are going to happen. You got to roll with the punches. That's what's going to make it fun and exciting. So I don't know that I will ever through hike the PCT. I just don't think I am fast enough of a hiker to get through the whole thing in one season. I also don't know that I want to be hiking for 5 or 6 months. I don't know that I want to be away from home that long. I have mental health issues. I have bipolar disorder. So I'm concerned about not having a regular schedule, not having regular contact with my therapist, my psychiatrist, all that kind of stuff. I also have sleep apnea, and I'm still looking for a good way to handle that on the trail or while backpacking. If you have any suggestions, I've talked to some people who've gotten a portable unit, but it's awfully heavy and you have to charge it, I think, every 3 or 4 days, which will not work on the whole. There's some carries that are longer than that on the PCT. I've tried an oral device, but I'm not positive that it helps with my sleep apnea. Ideally, you would think that, and I paid a decent amount of money for this. It wasn't covered by my insurance, so I think I paid monthly payments for a while. And horror of horrors, they say keep it away from your pets. My dog was chewing on it one time, so it still fits in my mouth. It doesn't look real pretty. But I would think they would test my sleep apnea with the device in, but that's never happened. So I I use it because I feel it can't hurt. My dentist looked at it and said she thought I could get a better device, but just to see the sleep apnea dentist specialist was like $1,700, which I don't have. So maybe sometime in the future I can look into that. Then I've seen other wraps for your neck, maybe pillows and things I've seen small devices that go in your nostrils. So if anybody's had any experience with those other devices, they're not very expensive, which leads me to believe they're not going to work that well. but perhaps I'm wrong. They definitely look lighter than even the portable CPAPs that I've seen. Traveling with the actual CPAP machine is not really, it's not an option. It's got to be plugged in and it's heavy and you got to put distilled water in it. And yeah, it's kind of a pain. And sleep apnea it's very important that you treat it. It can cause a lot of problems, a lot of health problems, can cause sleepiness and tiredness, which also is not ideal for if you're trying to hike 20 something miles a day, which won't be me. I don't think I could hike 20 miles a day. I did just go on a hike. I didn't have my backpack on, but I hiked around, I think it was around 6 or 7 miles, and I pretty much did not stop. The thing that happened to me on this last hike, it's local. It's in a little town called Rancho Penasquitos, and there's a waterfall that you hike to. You can get there from the coast, and then you can get there from inland, and it's kind of the waterfall's kind of in the middle part. And there's this creek that runs, I think, east to west to the ocean, probably. And it was really nice. It was about I think it was over a little over 3 miles each way. So to the waterfalls. And then I could not walk across the waterfall area because I had two dogs with me, and it just wasn't safe. Most of it looked like there were big rocks that you could walk across, but there was the first part there's kind of a big step, and I just did not feel comfortable. I didn't think my dogs would be interested in doing that. The water looked it was real. There was a lot of mold, like that mold in there. So I didn't want the dogs in the water. And then I knew there was a couple other places where you could go across the creek. So I ended up walking to the waterfalls, taking some pictures and some video, and then going back to the next closest place to cross over. And there was a very nice wooden bridge structure that made crossing easy. There's also horses allowed on the trail. I didn't see any horses. I went during the week. I prefer to hike during the week because it's not as crowded. And then I was going to hike again on Saturday. I was going to lead a hike, but one of my dogs had issues and I could not make it that day, unfortunately. I'm going to set it up again, though, for next weekend, maybe. Because the wildflowers were just, if you want to see, I posted a couple videos. I try not to make my videos too long. So if you want to see wildflowers in Southern California, you can check out my videos I posted them everywhere. It's Michiko Lindsay. I'm on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and all of them. Michiko Lindsay, MichikoLindsay. I also this week went to see the San Diego Museum of Art's Art Alive 2024 exhibit, which was fantastic. They have local floral designers. I think they pick and apply for which works of art they want to use as the inspiration for a floral design. So there's probably, I think, at least 100 of these floral designs, and some are really creative, some are a little bit mundane, but all of them are beautiful and it just smells wonderful. I love the smell of fresh flowers. I had a nice chat with a Japanese woman who does ikebana, and my mother was an ikebana instructor. We used to go to class at a flower shop in Tokyo, and it was just really good memories doing that. And they would give me some flowers in a little vase so I could learn ikebana too. And the lady said, "Oh, you should join the Ikebana Society." So I might do that. I might do that. I like being around Japanese people. It makes me think about my mom, who I don't know if she's alive or dead. My sister, the evil one, kidnapped her, sort of, She sold her house in Chicago for like $1 million, and now we don't know where they are. They were in Japan for 3 or 4 months last March. They saw my uncle, so he let me know that he saw them. It was his sister. And now I don't know where they are. I don't know if my mom's alive or dead. It's sort of a bad situation, I think. So I'm kind of mourning my mom. She'd be 80, I think 84. She would have just turned 84. Oh no, maybe she's older than that. Maybe 85, 86. I have to do the math. I'm not good at math in my head. I have other talents, but math just not something that God gave me, sadly. And embarrassingly, because I think I should be better at math. But that's okay, right? We can't all be good at everything. So the thing that happened to me on my hike is I came home and I didn't even think about this, and I guess now I will in the future. But like on my thigh, I felt this bump, and then I looked and it was a tick. A tick. But it wasn't biting me. It was just hanging out there. It must have crawled up my pants. I didn't feel it. So I put it in the toilet, and I guess maybe I should have saved it in case it did bite me, because then I guess they can test them for Lyme's disease. But I was just so horrified. So, and then I checked my dogs, and not the last time, I took my dog Speck, my little dog Speck, camping and hiking a couple years back, and I did not check her for ticks. I don't know, it's just never been on my radar. Now it is. And there was this thing on her, like I thought it was a skin tag or something. It was a tick. She had 3 ticks, I think, on her that I found. And this was a couple days later. So I took them off. I read the directions of how to take them off. And then I did buy a tick remover, and like from Amazon. And so I carry one of those in my hiking kit, my backpack, my day hiking backpack. So yeah, ticks are bad. And I have heard people talk about ticks on the PCT. So I guess that's a thing that you have to watch out for. I don't think there's much you can do about it. I don't know that the stuff from permethrin or whatever that chemical is that people treat their tents and their clothes. I guess it could deter ticks, but I think it's more for mosquitoes and like biting flies. I'm gonna write that down. I'll look into that. Ticks. But anyway, it was a nice hike. And I'm kind of stressing out now because my start date, I just got an email from the PCT saying I could print out my permit. I should write that down. And my start date is May 9th. And I wasn't planning on starting on May 9th anyway, because I've already hiked. Like I started, I think, in October from Campo, and I hiked from Campo to Mount Laguna last year. So if I start, it would be, a few days in at Mount Laguna and go from there. But I do have tickets for the Rolling Stones in Las Vegas on the 11th, because my birthday is the 17th, and I don't have a problem being on the trail on my birthday. But I just don't think I think I'm trying to sell the tickets. So if you know anybody that wants Rolling Stone tickets in Vegas on the 11th, the Saturday night, let me know, because I just I just don't think I can do it. It's I got to figure out who's going to watch my dogs, and I found a Airbnb that was really inexpensive, and then I was going to camp and hike around the area. I think it won't be, it's early May. I think it should be okay still as far as being hot. But I just can't handle it. And I don't know that I can handle even the PCT. That's what I'm struggling with. I feel bad taking a permit spot, but honestly, this is not the best time of year to go. It's pretty late. This is the last month of permitting. It starts March 1st and it goes through May 31st. And the desert's getting pretty hot. And I would still have to go through some desert portions leaving now. So I have to think about it some more. I might do some section hiking. I think section hiking is the way for me to do the PCT. It's just you can pick and choose the weather and the area. It's just not as hard as through hiking. And I'll give you through hiking is tough. I just don't think I can do it, to be honest. I'm supposed to go. I guess it could be camping, but I could do some section hiking while camping with a friend in July. And we want to do some of the pretty parts up the trail. So we would drive up there. So I think I'll do that. But I'll do some section hiking in May because I've got the permit. So I want to get out there. And I like hiking. I just don't know if I would like hiking for 5 or 6 months. I don't know how people know that about themselves. Maybe you don't know. Maybe that's why so many people quit or have to leave. But it's definitely a big deal to do the PCT. And if you've already hiked it, good for you. And if you've done it as a slow hiker, I'd love to hear more from you because that's what worries me. Number one, if you're a slow hiker, how are you going to finish it in the season, in the hiking season, before it gets too cold? I guess you could go southbound. You could flip flop and come southbound because I know soboers start later. I want to say maybe July out of Washington, and then they get down here to San Diego November, even early December, because I pick up a lot of southbounders. I like picking them up. I like dropping them off when they're going, but I especially like picking them up when they've done it because I can ask them lots of questions about their methodology, their base weight. One guy, he just used a bivy. He didn't have a tent to save weight, and I think he was low. He was like 12 or 13 pounds base weight. That's pretty low. I am at little less than 15, and I have a little bit of room, I think, to get down a little bit lower. The one thing I will say is hiking, the lower your weight, I think the better your hike is going to be. There's no way you can convince me that having a 25-pound pack plus food and water is gonna make is gonna be fun. I don't think it's gonna be fun. Having a lighter pack plus food and water is better, in my opinion. So my goal, my rule of thumb, I think your base weight should be 15 pounds or less. And then you have to do food and water, whatever you have to do, especially the water, right? But that's my opinion. I know there's old school people that are like, oh, we carried packs that were 40 or 50 pounds. That sounds miserable. The first time I hiked on the PCT, I didn't even weigh my pack. That's how much of a noob I was. I I was scared because I thought if I know how much it weighs, psychologically, it will be worse for me. I don't think that way anymore. But I had been training to hike with a loaded pack, but not as loaded as it was that first day. And we didn't leave from Campo. We went up to where my friend Allie had come off trail. So it was Lancaster. I think it's Bouquet Canyon Road is where we hopped on. And there was a pretty long water carry for us. Plus, we didn't, obviously we didn't have trail legs. So I didn't have any kind of trail legs at all. Allie, I'm sure, would have been a better hiker, although she was having some trouble. So I think the first day we hiked, I want to say 7 miles, which was 7 miles longer than I think I'd ever hiked. I'd hiked maybe 4 or 5 miles. I don't think I've ever hiked 7 miles. And then maybe it wasn't that far. I think I want to say we hiked over 2 nights and 2.5 days. We hiked 17 miles. And honestly, I was impressed with myself because I'd never backpacked before. Did a lot of camping, but camping and backpacking are super different. Like car camping, you can bring whatever you want. You can fit it in the car. In fact, when I used to go out to Anza Borrego, long time ago, we used to have a trailer that we'd put stuff in. So we'd have, a grill and camp chairs and everything, probably including the kitchen sink. We had a lot of stuff. I remember we brought cages to put the dogs in because we were worried about coyotes getting them. So we had these kennels. It was kind of crazy. A big tent. I like backpacking because it's so minimalist, right? That's your when you are a backpacker, at least a good, what I consider to be a efficient, let's say it's called efficient backpacker, ultralight. When in doubt, leave it at home. Don't bring it with, right? What do they say? Don't pack your worries, or I can't remember what the saying is, but you cannot put in your pack every redundancy, every possibility. You have to have faith that some of it, you don't need all that. And I think it's a pretty good idea if you are going to through hike to do some backpacking beforehand and test out your system. Like I had never backpacked in the rain. Technically, I still haven't backpacked in the rain. I haven't backpacked in the snow either. I've backpacked in snow, like there was snow around, and it got cold enough to where my water bottle froze up. It was cold. This was last December. I went backpacking. And I was totally warm, so that was a nice surprise. I have a 15-degree bag from REI. It's not a fancy bag, but it was warm. I also had my dog though, and she gets in my bag, and she really does help. Does help to keep you warm. What was my point? Oh, so I have rain gear. I have a poncho that I think I got. I don't know how I got enrolled. Maybe it was a gift, but I would get like a package of camping and I guess backpacking stuff every month. And some of it was stuff you don't need, but some of it was good stuff. And I think one of the months I got a poncho, and I took the poncho to the Billy Joel concert last week, and it worked quite well. So I plan to take that on the trail. I know one of the big issues they say is depending on what kind of ring gear you're wearing, you don't get enough airflow, and you sweat and then you get wet inside. So you're still getting wet. So I think the poncho to me feels like it would do the trick. When I hiked to the waterfall this week, it rained a bit when I first got there, and I used my hiking umbrella, and that worked really well. That was enough. If the rain's coming in sideways, or I think that would be the biggest issue if the wind was blowing and the rain was coming sideways so that it was getting under the umbrella. I did find at the Billy Joel concert, I did get wet because I didn't sort of have my poncho arranged properly, and I get that it's not comfortable sort of getting wet. It's just not a comfortable feeling. Now, I guess you could learn to be comfortable with that, or just you got to figure out your rain gear. The problem is it doesn't rain very often here, and I've heard that too on the trail on the PCT. It just doesn't rain that often. We don't have that kind of weather compared to like the AT. So I think we're about out of time. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the recording, uh, please feel free to contact me with your comments or suggestions. And I will see you next week at around noon on Sunday for some more PCT chat. Have a great week and happy hiking.